All right, welcome everybody. I'm Anthony Karls, and today we are continuing our conversation on our quick audit guide here at Rocket for family law firms. So today our topic we are talking about paid media advertising. So this is a big one. This one's pretty robust when we look at the paid media landscape for our family law firms. We find lots of opportunities that are under leveraged, underutilized. There is so much tension in this space put on paid search. Paid search is a great tool, but it is by far not the be all end all. And there are a lot of great opportunities that are in the paid media space. So we're going to cover those today. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about what actually makes them work and how to make sure you're leveraging them correctly and how we score them when we meet with a client, and just talk about all the different opportunities that exist in this one particular space. So there are 6 big topics here that we're going to talk about. We're going to break them down into their sub elements. But the first one here is search campaign structure, and that's on the paid search. It's what a lot of us are doing. We are not going to be talking about LSAs in this. It's part of paid media. There is a time to use LSAs, and there is a time when you are actually spending money on LSAs when you don't need to, and you're actually cannibalizing your own opportunities and paying Google to do it. We've seen this in our data as we've built our firm, and where we dominate in one area of marketing that we've talked about in some of our other quick audit conversations. We actually limit our opportunity in those other assets in the local maps SEO and in SEO when we overactivate LSAs. So we're talking. Well, that'll be a different episode that I do, but we are not talking about LSAs here because it is not. It is a conditional based part of our paid search strategy. It is not always on. It is potentially on, depending on other factors. So what we're covering here today is paid search, traditional paid search. We're going to be talking about remarketing lists. Those are super important. We're going to be talking about prospecting lists. And then, so those are the 3 types of potential advertising we could do. We're going to talk about media assets for all 3 of those types. We are going to talk about inventory utilization for those media assets and those 3 different types of potential advertising. And then we're going to talk about the most important one, which is offline conversion integration. So we're working on law firms, and this is an offline conversion opportunity, and this is by far the biggest and most missed opportunity to improve your paid search and your paid advertising, your paid social campaigns, because most of the time, if we feel like we're doing a really good job, we're doing the bare minimum. That's actually what we're doing on this offline conversion integrations. So we're going to save that one for last. So you have to deal with me for these first 5, talking through them. But I'll try to make them quick. I'll try to make them engaging, give you insights on what we've learned with all of our own data. So number 1, search campaign structure. So when we grade this, we're really looking at 3 different elements of paid search. We're looking at the structure of our campaigns and our ad groups. We're really looking for 3 different types of keyword buckets. We're looking at how those are structured, how we're structuring the ad groups. Number 2, so campaign structure is number 1. Number 2 is how are we leveraging negative keywords? Holy smokes, these still work. I'm not sure when we all decided that we weren't going to use this opportunity anymore. But that is something that has occurred in the last, I would say, probably 3 to 4 years, where this is just not managed well anymore. This used to be where all paid search people would make their money. Is like they understood that campaign structure, negative keyword blocking and tackling was a massive opportunity for getting rid of tons and tons of waste and improving the quality of all of the traffic. I think generally a lot of paid search people have gotten super lazy, and they just turn this stuff on PMax and they let Google try to do it. And we crush PMax all the time. We talk about it disparagingly. We appreciate what Google gives us as an opportunity to advertise, but we crush all the recommendations constantly because Google's incentivized to build programs that are helpful to you, but also they drive their shareholder profit. Um, they removed their "Don't Be Evil" value. I believe it was 2018, 2019. Since then, Google has black boxed their platform, and they have continually done things, in our opinion, that are to the detriment of the small businesses, because uh, you're more likely to waste money with them. So there are negative keywords is a big one, where they'll tell you, just run these like fancy PMAX campaigns and let us tell you what it should be. There's a lot of waste in there, and so negative keywords, different campaign objectives, so that we can really make this thing work, versus just hoping Google will make the right decisions for you. Um, I don't like to outsource that stuff for our clients. Um, we can beat them all the time. Number 3 is campaign extensions. This is another one that I would say more recently has feels like it's gotten less attention. Um, this again used to be, if you're doing great in paid search, you are maximizing that real estate, so that if you're showing up for a query, you have everything potentially there, so that that person, that user, will click on your ad, because we know that it's a highly qualified user, and we have a great ad with good citation, good campaign extensions. We can see our location. There's a call link. There's site links. There's a potential form. There's a lot of different things that we can leverage there, depending on that user's behavior, that we can then help drive them to our business and our website and make sure they convert. So those are the 3 big things that we look at in the campaign structure. We really want to make sure we have core, buy, and geo terms segmented that way. That way we can, as the business is growing, and we've talked a lot about this in some of our revenue operation waterfall conversations, your business is going to grow, and you're going to see an excess of leads come in. And what we want to be able to do is manage those down, so that we're not wasting money. Like we talked about and paid advertising is a great place for us to kind of use this as the lever or throttle, to make sure the right amount is coming in, not just stuff is coming in. Because if we can only answer 60% of our calls and respond to 30 or 40% of our emails in the first 5 minutes, or web leads in the first 5 minutes, adding more to that bucket, you're not going to make any more money. You're just going to spend more money, and you're going to end up with the same result, because operationally you can't handle it. So how are we segmenting our paid search structure, so that as we are growing our business and we're seeing our operational metrics become less effective, less efficient, we can throttle some of that back, so operations can catch up, and then we can grow it out again. So it's super important that we segment this stuff correctly, segmented by intention type. That's why we do buy, core, and geo terms, because they all have different purchase intentions. And then we also do it by physical location, because we work with a lot of firms that have multiple locations, multiple like actual regional hubs, and we need to make sure that those hubs as a whole are fully activated and not having a lot of excess capacity just sitting around. So making sure our segmentation is well, so we can use this as a throttle for an operational support within the business. So that's kind of one of the big things that we look for in search. And then the 4th is, how are we leveraging our conversion opportunities, and we'll talk about that later. So structure, negative keywords, blocking and tackling, how are we doing all of that? Campaign extensions, are we maximizing our real estate when we're showing for an ad? So that's what we're looking for there. Number 2 is remarketing lists. This is such an amazing opportunity. You are spending a lot of time, energy, and effort to get a user that's going through a very difficult time in their life to get to your site. And a lot of what we found in our research is before they call our firm, or before they submit a web lead, and this is true with the firms that we work with, they are on your site doing research for what they can do next for about 2 to 3 years. It's a really long purchase process for that petitioner. So if we can be really strategic with how we're placing pixels on our site, so we can continue to message to those potential buyers, those potential clients, through their journey, and keep engaging them from a branding perspective, when they get closer to being ready to make that call to your law firm and tell them that story, they're going to be more likely to do it with you because you've nurtured them along the way. They keep coming back to you. You're going to see direct traffic go up as a result. You're going to see your paid advertising performance improve as a result. Your direct attribution to remarketing, it's not going to look great, but if you're doing revenue operations waterfall with us, what you're going to see is your mixed media model reporting. You're going to have a lower CPL. You're a lower cost per lead as a whole, even though you have this thing, remarketing, that looks like it's unprofitable, but it's actually helping drive things down the funnel. So it's really important that we have this. So it's pixel placement so that we can make sure that we're managing our users down the funnel strategically based on pages that they're engaging with. And then secondly, it's first-party data collection and utilization. So we talked about that in our revenue operations quick audit guide conversation. And if we are doing a good job with data collection, there are a lot of opportunities from a remarketing perspective for us to continue to drive these people down the funnel. So one of the things that we talk about with our clients, and this is an opportunity for most small businesses, is most small businesses are not good at offers. They have one offer and it goes through one standardized process. The one offer is a consult, and then you will get an opportunity to buy something. Versus you have tools, you have content that's hidden from a tools perspective. And like all you request is an email so that they can get access to that. You have recorded webinars, you have live workshops, you have things that are way higher up in the funnel. If you think about the 5 stages of awareness, when if they're at the top of that funnel, they're not ready to call you and have a consultation. So what can you do to exchange using different offers to get that information and then use their first party data, their email address, their physical address, to then stay in front of them over the course of this 2 to 3 year journey, so that when they're ready to buy, they purchase with you. And then when you do it that way, with strategic pixel placement and then leveraging first party data, the amount you spend on remarketing goes down, and the value of those interactions goes way up, because you can spend more per CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, on higher quality inventory, which we'll talk about later, because you know exactly who they are and they are your buyers. It's not a guess because they were on your site. I wouldn't suggest just everybody on your site, if they're there, they're getting remarketing. That's like, that would be the bottom layer of utilizing remarketing. If you're strategic with it, using first party data and strategic pixel placement, what you're going to see happen is the amount you spend on remarketing is going to go down. Your cost per 1,000 will go up because you're going to be you have the opportunity to be on more premium placements, and you're going to see more conversions come through your funnel. They're not going to come directly through your remarketing list, because most people don't click on a display ad, or they watch a video on YouTube and click on an ad in the YouTube video. That's not how that works. But those brand impressions that they're getting along the way, because you know strategically that they are your potential buyer and you're in front of them after you've activated them, you're nurturing them down the funnel, they're going to show up for you. So this is a super unutilized opportunity, and when done really well, this does amazing things to businesses. So it requires you using a mixed media model from a reporting perspective, which isn't terribly difficult. We talk about that in our revenue operations waterfall quick audit guide. It's something every business should do. It's usually one of the missing components of really growing a firm. When doing that, remarketing is super available, and you're able to then drive better conversions and better efficiencies throughout your marketing and sales, because you're helping that process. So remarketing, number 2. Number 3, we got prospecting lists. So this is using all the data that you're gathering so that you can create two different types of audiences. One is going to be called a lookalike, so you can take your audience, you can take the pixels that you're using to leverage remarketing, and then have those data platforms look at the data that's coming from those pixels of all the users that have leveraged your your site for information, to then go find audiences that look exactly like them that haven't interacted with you yet. So using really strategic pixel placement creates this other audience group that isn't engaged with you right now and gets your brand in front of them. And they look like all the thousands of data points that the platforms have on those users because they've engaged with your pixels. So lookalike audiences are super powerful. And then number two, this goes back to your first party data. When you're capturing really quality first party data and leveraging that, you can do very highly detailed psychographic and demographic data purchases on different types of platforms like Stack Adapt or Simplify, to say, okay, here's the age groups that purchase with us. Here's the incomes. Here's exact neighborhoods that they live. Here's all of the things, and then you buy that data segment. And then you can take that data segment and you can go to these different pieces of inventory on these platforms to highly in a highly targeted way, specifically advertise to just them, versus doing blast brand campaigns, which is not, it's very difficult and expensive for small businesses to do. This gives you that opportunity without having to spend that kind of money. Typically a good branding campaign, like in an area like Milwaukee, you're going to spend $20,000 to $30,000 a month at least just to run full spectrum audio throughout the city and hit a good density of potential buyers on the traditional side. And it's going to look very similar on TV. You're probably looking 20 to 40,000 there. It's just very expensive. Versus doing this, you're going to spend way less money. It's going to be way highly targeted. You're not going to get the mass brand recognition, but the users that will buy from you, they will know you. And this is a really good opportunity. So quality prospecting lists with leveraging your pixels to create really good lookalike audiences, and then using your data that you've acquired over time to do data studies and then identify who are those buyers to then go purchase on different platforms. This is not Google. This is different data inventories that give you access to audio, video, and digital display, plus social media. So these are great ones. All right, number 4, we have media assets. So we talked about potential people that are going to be searching in the funnel and how to target them. Search is going to be the lowest and most expensive. Remarketing is going to be much higher up in the funnel. It's less expensive, and it keeps people out of. It will prevent them from going and engaging with you through search, because they're going to have engaged with you separately, which would help increase your ROI from a marketing perspective. And then prospecting. So how can we, again, go to the top of the funnel and find people that look like us? What we need to activate those different things is media assets. So there are 3 different ones that we really need to make sure we have. So we need to have some high quality audio ads, 15 and 30-second versions. Same thing with video. Again, those are going to be 6, 15, and 30-second formats. And they're going to run on lots of different inventories that we're going to talk about in a minute. And then display banner sizes. So digital display banner sizes are really important for maximizing your media asset opportunities. So as we think about, we've identified some lists using our first party data, using data segment studies, so that we have some prospecting opportunities. We can use people that have been on our site. How do we go back and engage them? So we've talked about the list. Now we're talking about, like, Art, how are we going to be messaging to them? What's the message? So if we have an opportunity to get in front of them again, strategically, what's our brand message that's out there that's going to talk to them about us? How can we associate our firm name with our service, and what makes us different? over and over and over again through that funnel process so that they choose us outside of that super expensive version, which is paid search. What you'll see what happens with this is people will come in and they'll convert at higher rates when they're in the consultation room because they already know something about you. They know you, they trust you more. This isn't their first interaction with you. This is their probably 15th, 16th, 17th, 20th, 30th brand impression with you. And they're more trustworthy and less skeptical because they've seen you a whole bunch of times, which is what branding does. It helps improve that whole engagement. So those are really important. Having full spectrum coverage all over the internet. It's not terribly difficult. It's just understanding that you can do this and you can do it all from one platform, and kind of leverage one message that you take. Here's the video. Then we cut out the audios, and then here's how we display this from an imaging perspective with banner ads. So these are things that we can easily do. So, do we have the right media assets? And then are we optimizing this stuff? Are we just doing this once and then not refreshing it? Are we A/B split testing all of these different formats, the audio, the video, the display banner ads, so that we're improving the overall engagement? So we're maximizing the potential that exists here and not allowing this stuff to become stale. So we want variety and quality in video, audio, and digital display. And then we want to make sure we're optimizing this stuff. Are we split testing, and are we refreshing? So those are the things that we want to make sure we're covering on the media asset front. And we want to make these simple. That's the other thing. So often we see stuff that gets so complicated. When you're thinking about these, especially like if you think about a 6-second ad, these often are skipped on YouTube. This is a good example. You have, I think it's 4 seconds on YouTube to skip an ad. If you're not talking about your brand and what you do in those first like 2 seconds, it was a wasted impression because they don't want to listen. They want to see what they went to YouTube for, not your brand. And if you're talking about something else, you've literally accomplished nothing in that engagement. Same thing on the audio ones. If you're on Spotify or Pandora, like if you listen to podcasts on Spotify, there are ads mixed into lots of recorded podcasts now. What are you doing in those first couple seconds? Because you can just hit the skip button, but it takes you a couple seconds because you're sitting, you're working, you're driving, you're doing something, and then an ad comes on. Did you do what you should have done in the first couple seconds to create a brand impression, or did you say something silly and then they just skipped the ad? They didn't hear anything. All they saw was a blue screen because we didn't do everything we could have, and they hit the skip button. They didn't even hear your brand name and your service. So how do we do that? Like, how do we be really strategic with these? Same thing on digital display ads. We say too much. Make it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS is a great way to think about these things. All right, so that's media assets. Number 5, we want to talk about inventory. So this is the inventory of potential media is all over the place. And when we're a small business, typically we just think about search, but there is so much media available out there. Everybody thinks about search, so it's the most expensive. There is a lot of people there. There's a lot of buyers there, so you should be there strategically. But there is a lot of other stuff that you should also be a part of. So those are, like we talked about some digital audio. That's Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. So there's a lot of potential places to do that. OTT and CTV. So your Hulu, Roku, your Samsung TV that runs just digital ads, all of those in between commercials, there are opportunities to deliver ads right in there that are very highly targeted. These are not traditional media buys where you're buying from an aggregator. You can do exactly what you do on paid search and get very specific and target very specific demographics and psychographics with those 6 and 15 and 30-second ads so that you can get your brand impressions in front of people. Digital banners, we talked a little bit about that. Google Display, there's a lot of Google Display is huge, but there are a lot of other partners where you can buy assets. And then social media. Where are people? One of the things we talk about here is we want to be in front of, especially from a remarketing perspective, we want to be in front of eyeballs after 5 p.m. So where are people after 5 p.m.? There's a massive spike of social media usage as people are kind of getting out of their day-to-day work and towards back towards home, and into their personal life. And social media massively jumps there. Are you where all the eyeballs are? Because if you're not, and you're just doing digital display, or you're just doing some OTT, like, you might not be as visible as you want to think. So are you on platforms like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and X? Like, where are you? Because if you're not on those, you're probably missing stuff. So, and then we want to be really strategic with how we're deploying these different opportunities. Like we talked about earlier, is your message going out coherent and together, or are you doing like different things in all of these different channels and the messages aren't really helping each other? Are they strategically helping each other? Do you know what your goals are? Are you trying to drive brand awareness? Are you trying to drive lead gen? Are you trying to focus on customer retention and uh, appreciation? Are you doing something that you're trying to drive brand awareness so that you can recruit more people? So you're kind of doing two things. Are you doing some brand awareness and some lead gen? Like, what are you doing in your campaigns? It's really important to make sure that you are strategic with your deployment. So those are big things in inventory. Is you want to make sure you have coverage in all of these different opportunities. As you do that, you will see, again, this kind of goes into that remarketing and prospecting. You're going to see that these don't necessarily have, if you just measure attribution in these channels, you're going to see that the ROI looks like, why would I continue to do this? It's because your attribution model is broken. You need a mixed media attribution model. You should be on these pieces. You should be creating these pieces of media and these pieces and being on these types of inventories, so that your overall funnel gets much healthier, because people buy by seeing different things in the marketplace before they get to that final point. Most people, especially small business owners, will only focus on that last attribution point, and that's also where it's the most expensive and most dollars are spent. So we can vastly expand your budget and create greater leverage by understanding how does this mixed media model work and how can we deploy it well from an inventory perspective. All right. So lastly, I mentioned earlier in this video that one of the most important pieces to this is your offline conversion integration. This is by far the piece that's done the worst. It is the thing that, if done well, will drive the most value. So the way to think about this is Google is great at their automation, at identifying this user that we know exactly how they're going to perform will do X. They'll complete a form, they'll click a button, if you set up a conversion action, Google can identify people that will do that. So if we make the game really simple for Google's AI, like super simple, and say, we want our conversions to be when someone clicks their phone number on our website, you're going to end up spending a ton of money on extraordinarily poor quality leads. The minimum, and this isn't good. This I would grade this I think we do grade this in our grading platform here. We grade this a C. This is like barely passing. You can, if you remember back in high school, like if you played a sport or did an extracurricular, if you didn't keep a C average, you got kicked off the team. This is I'm barely meeting the minimum here. If all you're doing is you're tracking phone calls and web leads, and that's all you're integrating back into these ad platforms, you are doing the bare minimum. And you're going to get bare minimum quality results. They're going to be better than not doing anything. It's going to be better than just the button click, but it's not much better, because it's very easy for Google to find users that are going to fill out a form. It's so simple. It's very easy for Google to find users that are going to make a phone call. Those two actions don't make a law firm money. What makes a law firm money is you get a person in the consultation room and you're able to actually deliver them a proposal because they have something that you can help them with. That is the offline conversion that you want to integrate back into Google. If you're big enough, and even Sterling isn't big enough, so I can't even grade Sterling an A on this, is ideally it would be the client signs an agreement and is going to start working with you. That's even better because it's further down the funnel. Not everybody you deliver a proposal signs, but based on the number of potential interactions that are required, we can leverage a proposal. We know based on our system, whoever got the proposal, that user data is going to go back to Google, and that's what we optimize off of. Because what ends up happening is it makes the conversion, the data that Google has to use, it makes it more robust, and they have to work harder. Their AI has to work harder to spend our money because we set targets for them, and those targets then their AI works to meet, which means they have to use more and more of their own information to target the right people that are going to get a proposal in their prediction modeling, not the person that's going to call. Because we know so often that there are a lot of people that can't afford our service. And we're getting a whole bunch of junk calls. We don't want the junk calls. We want to get rid of the junk calls wherever we possibly can. And one of the best, easiest ways to do that is stop optimizing for phone calls, stop optimizing for web leads. Those are great events that we should track, but they're not the conversion action that we're going to send back to the platform that said, hey, you won, good job. That's not the pat on the back that we're going to give Google. We're going to give Google a pat on the back when we've gone all the way through the funnel and we delivered someone a proposal, and then that person we send back and say, Google, good job. And when we can do that, we make way more money on our paid advertising platforms because we're training the AI for the right thing, not the wrong thing. So again, so that we have all these gradings here on our paid search advertising. Just look at our paid media quick audit guide for family law firms. 6 sections: search campaign structure, remarketing lists, prospecting lists, media assets, inventory utilization, and offline conversion integrations. If I were to, if you're starting out, I would start with number 1, campaign structure, number 2, remarketing, and number 6, offline conversion integrations. If you can get that number 6 done well, 1 and 2 will work fantastically. You'll be able to spend more money in 2 and 3. You'll be able to get more creative with the types of media that you're leveraging and the type of inventory that you're buying. So I'd really encourage you to take that advice seriously. I've seen it work so well with our firm and with the firms that we integrate with that actually adopt that. So if you need help with it, happy to help, but this is how we think about it.